Hey, what's up and hello. This is the Chris Nicole bringing you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. Hit the like and hit the hype. Whoo, okay. So look, let's talk about it. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch this 4-part documentary. Some said they weren't going to watch it and they were just going to wait for my review. But this was deep, y'all. This was deep. I've seen a lot of documentaries that make me feel uncomfortable. But the reason why I would say this one made me feel really uncomfortable because how demented and evil and demonic allegedly Diddy is. Unfortunately, I have to say allegedly. I don't want to say it, but I have to say it. And how diabolical he is. And how truly I could see why a lot of people leave the industry very insane because of dealing with people like Diddy. And sadly, I definitely don't think Diddy is the only one, especially the only one in the hip hop community, that get their rocks off doing the things that they do to people. So we're going to talk about it. There are definitely some things that we kind of already were aware of, but there was definitely some things that opened up a can of worms like no other. And I definitely want to know how Diddy's team is about to handle this. Because see, they thought they was about to give them a cease and desist to stop them from doing this documentary. You're dealing with Netflix. Netflix has so many lawyers on top of lawyers. They have a whole department. If you really think they were about to stop this documentary, knowing that they probably went through every legal route to make sure that they had every right to put this documentary out there, I don't know what they thought was going to happen, but it aired. I mean, literally at midnight, it posted on Netflix. It posted. But first things first, shout out to this masterful troll, this masterful get back, this masterful, like, let me tell you something, Curtis Jackson, aka 50. You have definitely read the 48 Laws of Power multiple times, okay? Like, if I was diabolical and evil, I guess I would follow that book also, but it is very obvious that 50 Cent holds that book dear to his heart because he executes things like no other. Big smile on his face. Now, personally, I don't think that I don't think that 50 started this documentary from the ground up. I think somebody was already working on this documentary, but 50 attached his name to it and his money and resources to it because it is very obvious that his resources brought a lot to the table. Some of these people that were in this documentary never really spoke in a documentary yet. We saw some other faces, but some of these people we hadn't seen. And I think it's because they may have gotten paid something to be able to do this documentary, but also the actual behind the scene footage. I would say that was probably a lot of Diddy's doing. Like, let me tell you something. Now that Diddy is in prison, there's probably a lot of people who's like, where's my money? Because we already know, but they definitely show this in this documentary that Diddy is really quick to use people, take advantage of people and their talents and leave them broke, not paying them. So my guess is whoever was doing this behind the scenes footage didn't get paid or didn't get the money that they thought they should have deserved and said, here, I don't give a ish anymore. Here you go. Because I want my money and somebody gonna give me my money. And 50 was right there with a big smile on his face. So shout out to this man. I don't know if I ever want to beef for this man. I'm so sorry, you guys. You hear the dog in the background being bad as hell. If it ain't the dog, it's a dang on cat. But shout out to him. I don't know. I feel like once he's almost kind of like a Diddy. Like once he feels like he's slighted, or to a certain extent, he is going to keep coming for you and coming for you. Now, the thing is, 50, I am hoping no one has something on you. Because, baby, the day that someone has enough stuff on you to do a documentary on you, wow. So I'm hoping that while you're doing all of this, you are clean as a whistle. All right. But with that being said, this idiot right here, and this just shows you one thing that Jaguar did say that I truly believe is that Jay-Z is smarter than Sean Combs, and that he's more patient, more calculated. What idiot decides to actually record themselves talking to their dang on attorneys? So 50 Cent has been able to obtain footage that Diddy literally had someone walking around with him in his hotel and in New York City while he was trying to speak to his attorneys about how they were going to have their strategic moves on what they were going to do as far as all of these cases that were coming towards him. And he knew potentially he was about to get arrested soon. So what we see in the beginning is this idiot talking to his attorneys, and I mean literally talking at them, because of course, you know, he thinks he's God, talking at them and pretty much saying that what they're doing is not working and they need to come up with a plan. But again, talking to his attorneys, like no one should hear you talking to your freaking attorneys, and you like a dum-dum literally have these freaking idiots recording you while you're talking to your attorneys. Again, I don't know if this is also over the fact that allegedly his alleged substance abuse could be the reason why he's making these dumb moves, but he has this person following him around talking to his attorneys with no hesitation. So that's how it starts off. All right. And so with that, they go into detail about what happened in his earlier years. Now, we've already heard some of this story. He's the only child. He had a guy that lived with him and his parents also downstairs. They grew up together like brothers. He mentions that, you know, some of the beatings that he received when he was younger were like really, really severe, and the partying and all of the things that they saw and what they were exposed to, blah, 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 blah. We went through all of that. Now, what we did not go through was how they pretty much showed that he had already had a problem prior to him being super duper famous. Okay. Now, we had heard stories in the other documentaries, but we mainly heard it from like a third party who claims they saw certain things. But this lady right here actually is an alleged victim of him. Okay. Her name, I believe, is Joy Dickerson Neal, if I'm not mistaken. There was a lot of people in here, so bear with me. Joy Dickerson Neal. Okay. She alleges that she was essayed by Diddy, I believe back in 91 or 92. Okay. And he allegedly taped it also. So this has been a pattern of his prior to the fame. This is when he was in his uptown days. Okay. And how her own mother sent a letter to Diddy's parents, or at least the one parent, but she addressed it to Mr. and Mrs. Combs because she wanted to speak to the parents about this. And this lady is crying. She's distraught. She claims that Diddy got on his knees the last time she saw him back in like the early 90s, and he swears that he didn't do it. She said no one was trying to help him. Now, one thing about it, I don't understand for the life of me why they keep saying that Diddy is from Harlem. Diddy is not from Harlem. His parents may be from Harlem, but that spoiled little brat grew up in Mount Vernon. Okay, Mount Vernon, which is like a suburb. All right. Just because he kicked it in Harlem, he was not a Harlem dude. But they said a lot of his influence came from those type of blaxploitation films like the PIMP films, and also looking up to guys like Alpo Martinez, who at the Rooftop, which was a skating ring in Harlem, he used to literally film girls that he was having freaky tales with and post it like on the wall at the skating ring, and literally would have men watch these girls that he was sitting up there having freaky tales with. So apparently he was really influenced by these gangsters, even though he's not a gangster. So they said that's where potentially he got that from, with always wanting to videotape these type of hideous and illegal things that he was doing. So with that, she said that, you know, she struggled with this for a very long time, seeing him all over Times Square. You know, like she struggled with this. And with that being said, her case is still pending. She did, once Cassie came out, she said, I felt for her, but I was so thankful that I realized that I wasn't the only one. Her case is still pending in regards to the allegations that she has against Diddy. All right. But I love the fact that they showed us that even before the fame, even before the Jodeci, the Mary J. Blige's, and he was just really, just trying to get his foot into the industry, he already allegedly had a pattern of this stuff. Before, the substances and everything else, he already had issues and had been getting away with this for decades, okay? So that was definitely one thing that I love, that they showed that there was a victim prior to the fame of actual Diddy. Now, let's talk about these freaking jurors. They actually had 2 jurors that was on the recent trial that Diddy had. This black woman right here, I'm sorry, my opinion, stan. And definitely, to me, is everything that shouldn't have been in that jury. Because she said something that really, she claims that, I grew up, with his artists and his music and things like that. And, not necessarily a fan of him, but was a fan of his work and his music. And she said that there was really no interaction. Like, Diddy would sometimes stare at us and be like, did y'all hear that? Do you believe that? Kind of giving these looks towards us. But then she said, most of the time he would just be nodding his head. And she was like, the way he used to nod his head on Making a Band. And she was like, that's like, I guess that's just kind of in him, how he nods his head. And I said, Making a Band? Making a Band hasn't been on for like 20 years. What do you mean the way he used to nod his head during Making a Band? You have that much of a memory on how he nodded his head on Making a Band? Or were you on some groupie BS, and when you went home decided to replay Making the Band, or you're that much of a freaking fan of his, you shouldn't have been on the jury. Like, you shouldn't have been there, period. When she said, he was just nodding his head in the courtroom like he used to on Making a Band, I guess that's just how he is. That's what's in him. I said, okay, we dealing with a groupie here. We're dealing with a Diddy fan. And with that, definitely shouldn't have been there, period. Now, both of them said DV was not involved when it came to this case, so they could not do that. And she said that once they decided and that they were only going to convict him of 2 counts out of all the other counts, she said that she was like, ish, like it's like almost as if she was saying something's about to hit the fan because they only charged him for 2 counts. But they had 2 jurors, and unfortunately, the black woman literally, to me, showed that she was a fan, a super duper fan who should have never been there. Now, this man, on the other hand, again, a lot of people don't understand DV. They don't understand, Stockholm syndrome. They don't understand that type of stuff, because he's like, well, they would get into it. The next minute you see the text messages talking about, I love you and this and this and that and that. And they don't understand how DV can be very serious and those type of things can still happen. So, and that's primarily the Fed's fault. They could have definitely presented way better so people could understand certain things. But they did have the jurors. But looking at this lady, I'm like, how many others were like you on the jury who shouldn't have been there because you're too much of a fan. They should have made sure, they should have did an O.J. Simpson situation and made sure that they did not go home and they didn't have access to the TV and everything else. She claimed it wasn't hard for her not to be on social media, but for some it was. Something tells me that girl went back to making the band because, again, I know you guys maybe remember certain things on Making a Band, but who remembers how Diddy nodded his head? Like, that's something weird to remember on a freaking reality show. Not a fight, not an argument, but how he nodded his head. Y'all let me know if that's weird. But anywho, so this is, what's his name? Little John. What the hell is this man's name? Child, we've heard his story. What the hell is this man's name? Little Anthony, Little Rod, damn it, Little Rod. Little Rod was on this documentary. I don't think he's been on the previous documentaries, but interesting enough, he said, of course, he didn't get paid. He did mention how one time Justin and Diddy went into the bathroom with this gentleman, and next thing you know, he heard pow, 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 and Diddy and Justin walk out like it's nothing, and this guy is literally laying in his own red rum, if you know what I mean, and he's trying to help him, and pretty much Diddy kind of just told him, didn't nothing happen here, you didn't see nothing, and almost kind of said it in a threatening way. Not to mention, he was so busy trying to make sure that he was a part of the club, so to speak, that he got to the point where he would be partying with them because he felt like, you know, Diddy's a gatekeeper. I gotta, you know, stay here and make sure that, you know what I'm saying, I'm in good with him because, you know, potentially this could be life-changing. I can take care of my kids, my grandkids. I can create generational wealth. He claimed Diddy offered him a mansion next to his mansion in Miami. And I'm like, Negro, you actually believe that? You actually believe that? He's like on that $1 million row in Miami. You actually think that fool was about to buy you a mansion in the same freaking neighborhood as him? Okay. But he also said that he was going to give him $250,000 and he's holding on to this. And the next thing you know, he gets wrapped up in the same type of freak offs. And he said there would be times that he would wake up, don't know what's going on, people in his bed. And he said even one time Diddy was laying next to him. And I'm sorry, y'all, at that point, I got a little puzzled because you apparently multiple times will wake up and don't know what the heck happened, don't know what the heck is going on. And even at certain points, you saying that Diddy was laying next to you and you don't know what happened. You don't even potentially feel weird in certain areas of your body, if you know what I mean. Like nothing, like you can't, even if you don't remember anything, you don't feel like you was possibly violated in some way. I don't know. Kind of weird. My personal opinion, Little Rod may have been willing to do a lot of things that he would not have been willing to do just for the sake of hoping that this was going to be a life-changing situation. And he just potentially doesn't want to admit that. That is my opinion, because I'm like, how many times do you wake up and claim you don't know what happened, and then you got this grown man laying next to you and you don't respond in any way but continue to get faded? Other times after that, little weird, but he didn't get paid for his producing for that Love album. He was even trying to get $29,000 out of them, and he never got the money. And he said he feels like Diddy manipulated this from the beginning, as if he never planned to pay him. One thing about it, and I had said this before on my lives before, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the hype button if you replay gang also, like and hype. I told y'all I always felt like Diddy was not talented. Diddy knew how to market talent, but most importantly, Diddy knew how to market, period. And one thing about a master marketer, they're a master manipulator, okay? Diddy, I think several things. Very insecure. Let's be clear, not the most attractive mofo, even with all of the freaking money he has had, I mean, he still is not that attractive. Very, very insecure, but also spoiled. You could definitely tell growing up, he never really heard the word no. Very obvious, because he even in his younger days, hearing the word no, he didn't respond well to it. And then imagine getting all of that power, influence, and money, not accepting no. You will be very shocked to hear when you start telling people no, see how they respond, and you will see what you're dealing with. He definitely was that type. You cannot tell him no. Very cunning and very, like, I just feel like the way that he was able to manipulate people, especially people who were desperate to be in the industry, desperate for life-changing situations, I could see why and how he has destroyed so many people, and potentially is the reason why Tupac and Biggie allegedly are not here. And we are about to get into that. Yeah, this man is evil as hell. Like, I was uncomfortable because I was just like, how does someone like this survive this long? And I even had to ask God, like, how does someone thrive like this for this long? Well, again, when you sell your soul to Satan, he'll make it seem like you don't get all the riches of the world and you're going to have the world, but the devil ends up collecting. I personally, every time Diddy mentioned God in this documentary, I was like, you are not talking about the living God. Your God is Satan. Your God is Satan, point blank, period. There's no way in the world. He kept saying, oh, God spoke to me. Baby, that's the devil speaking to you. That is the devil speaking to you, and he is proud of you and what you have accomplished. And I'm curious to see after this documentary who is going to give Diddy any type of deals or endorsements. Like, what is Diddy going to do when he gets out of jail, especially after this documentary? But Little Rob pretty much says from the beginning, he was like, now that I look at it, he never planned on paying me. He was just hyping me up. And he was, making it seem like dangling that carrot, like he was about to make my dreams come true, like so many others, just to be able to take my talents and run with them. And that has been consistently what Diddy has done. He has taken other people's talents, from writers to singers to rappers, to push his own agenda and making things about him and about him only. Okay. And him being very jealous of even his own artists and how everything had to be about him. So when it all boils down to it, Diddy has always been this way. He's always been jealous. They mentioned the women that he's been around, how every single woman he's had, from Misa to Kim, like they were all women of men that he was affiliated with or even friends with. So for example, Misa, what's the guy from EPMD? Eric, is it Eric B? Y'all help me out, rap people. EMP, y'all know who, the crossover, which interesting enough, he was actually Eric Sermon. That's his name. He was saying that Diddy was at the crossover video shoot. Now, anybody who know EPMD, y'all know what the hell I'm talking about, Child I'm Tired. Their song, The Crossover, is a very popular song. And it's about not crossing over and selling your soul in the industry. Eric Sermon, yeah, I said that right. Yeah, Eric Sermon. Interesting enough, they said Diddy was on that set. And I'm like, interesting that song is about not crossing over. And this freaking raccoon literally was at that freaking video shoot of all video shoots. Because clearly he had no problem crossing over and literally disrespecting everybody and ruining everyone. But Eric Sermon used to date Misa. He used to date her. And he said, I thought he was trying to develop a friendship because he was a big fan of our group, but come to find out he was just trying to get close so he could try to get with Misa. And then, of course, we know the Kim Porter situation. and how that was Al B. Sure's woman. And I think they even had married at one point, or at least were engaged, and how he was trying his best to go after Kim. So almost every woman he has had, he has stolen that woman or has tried his best to one up the man that that woman was with. So Eric Sermon was with Misa, Al B. Sure, Kim Porter, and Cassie was with Ryan Leslie, the producer. So that's his MO. Okay. And he even sat up there and was trying to take Suge Knight's little side chick away from him also. That is his thing, because he clearly knows he ain't got the looks or the swag. So he has to show his power and his money to get these women. The sad part about it is all of these women ended up falling for it. Now, one of these women had enough integrity to say, I'm not about to be a pass around to a certain extent. And you not about to sit up there and think that I'm hopping from one, R&B singer to one rapper, whatever the case may be. It seems like they all fell for it, which I hate that. They all did that. And interesting enough, they all overlapped each other. Misa, when he was with Misa, he was pursuing Kim while he was with Misa, allegedly. When he was with Kim, he was pursuing J-Lo while he was with Kim. And then Kim came back in the picture and he was dealing with Cassie while Kim was in the picture. When I tell you, just a hot mess. But anywho, with that being said, Capricorn Clark, she was in this documentary. Now, one thing about it, and I'm not going to talk about her long. I don't remember if I heard this during the trial, but because I believe Capricorn is from here. She's from Cali. She tells us she is best friends with Suge Knight's baby mama, one of his baby mamas. So for the life of me, Capricorn, and I just got to be honest here, why in the hell would you want to work for Diddy knowing your affiliation in some way with Suge Knight? Now, of course, you didn't, I guess, work directly with him, but you would have to know that Diddy is going to do a background check on anyone who works with him, especially a personal assistant or someone who has to constantly be around him. Why would you actually think and want to work with him knowing the East Coast, West Coast drama? That is something that I don't understand. And y'all let me know if y'all feel like it's not a big deal. But she mentions that they end up going to Central Park at night, and pretty much he says, I didn't know that you knew Suge Knight. And he was like, well, if something happens, I'm going to have to off you. And gives an example of how and what could happen to her if she doesn't, straighten up and fly right. And if she's trying something slick. Me personally, that would have been the moment that, yeah, that's all right. I don't need this job. But honestly, I also feel like Diddy knew this already and he felt like that was a way to trap her. But also, I feel like Diddy has a background investigation on people where he also knows about their family history as well. Like, I don't know if you're going to really find that many people who come from a good, stable background that was around Diddy. I think Diddy purposely had certain people around him because he knew it was easier to manipulate and control them. And Capricorn Clark clearly fit that bill. But I just don't understand how she would be even willing to work for Diddy, knowing she's affiliated in some way with Suge Knight. That just didn't make any sense to me. But she talks about that, and then she talks about how, really deep down, as much as he makes it seem like he's strong and he's confident, he's positive, he really just feels really, really small and insecure. Well, hell, we definitely know that. Because nobody with real confidence would act like a Diddy. Like they just wouldn't. But when she mentioned that, I said, girl, why would you even want to work for that man? So it's almost like you decided to go through your own hell. Because there's no way I would want to work for no dang on Diddy, knowing, and it's not that hard to find out that I am attached in some kind of way to Suge Knight's people, his baby mama of all people. So quite interesting, Capricorn Clark. I had to side eye you on that, on why you would take that job. But with that, let's get into Aubrey. Y'all, Aubrey, wow. She was saying that, well, first, she has emails apparently that Diddy sent to her from back in the day. When I tell you the things that he said in those emails, sickening. That in any other environment, that person would have been sued, fired, or whatever the case may be. She was reading the emails and I was like, wow, like he truly does not respect anyone. He doesn't respect women. I find it very interesting that he has these daughters. Like, I feel like a lot of his karma is going to come when it comes to his kids, in my personal opinion. But she read those. But the biggest takeaway in this is they had her read this woman's account of, she pretty much describes walking into the bathroom and seeing Aubrey passed out while Diddy and another man was S.A.ing her. Aubrey doesn't remember this. She doesn't remember it at all. But she's reading this for the first time in front of the cameras. For the first time in front of the camera, she's reading this about how this woman is giving detail about how what she saw, what was going on in that particular moment, like very descriptive detail. And this woman is saying for sure she knows it was her, without a shadow of a doubt, that she knows that was Aubrey from freaking Making the Band, who was being SA, and how she was pretty much passed out on like a couch. And so Aubrey is trying to process reading this. And she's like, this woman telling the truth. She said, because if she's lying, she was like, I will take her through the coals. Like, I will sue her. It will be some damages. And she was like, and this woman is saying that it was me. Like it was me. And she was like, she couldn't process. She was trying to like figure out. And she was like, I don't even drink like that. Like, I don't even remember a time. Like, I don't even do things like this. So it sounds like if it was her, someone slipped her something that completely passed her out. But I guess my thing is, what happened after? Like, what happened after this is her? What happened after, where when she woke up, she didn't feel weird? She didn't feel like someone had possibly slipped her something. She didn't feel like somebody was messing with her body in some kind of way. It was weird, but I can't even imagine reading something from another woman who is pretty much telling me that they saw me pass out while I was being essayed by two men, and I can't even comprehend or even remember this happening to me. What night? None of that stuff. And this is what you actually see in this documentary, Aubrey trying to read this and process that potentially she got S8 and she didn't even know, and still didn't even know. She's reading this trying to say, wait, what? Me? Is she talking about me? It's crazy. And for those who haven't seen it, see it, because I can't even imagine how you're reading something and this person is saying, I know it was you and you were getting essayed, and Aubrey's like, I don't remember a dang on thing. So she claims, though, she never, the advances that Diddy made, she never consented and agreed. And because of that, that's why she got kicked out of the group. But then she found out later on that him and Don had a new project coming out. Now, interesting enough, remember Don was with that guy Q, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Q from Day 26? And remember, they were trying to make Q look like he was crazy and out of his mind when he was getting to the point where he was fed up with management. I wonder if some of that had to do with Diddy getting his rocks off, trying to take Don, or took Don away from Q. But with that being said, she said that she was the most popular girl on the show, which she was. She was that girl for that actual reality show. And he needed to take that popular crowd with him for his Dirty Money group. Now, one thing I do remember from that show, because I was a faithful watcher of Making a Band. I remember when him and Aubrey was getting into it a lot, and he finally fired Aubrey from the band. And this was around the time that I feel like either Obama was running for president the first time. You know, he was doing his vote or D, movement at that time. And I remember during a reunion, Aubrey was trying to make peace with him, and she was like, "Oh, I like your shirt," because he was somewhere else. He was like filming somewhere else. He was live streaming in on the reunion. And she said, "I like your shirt." And Diddy was looking at her like she was stupid. And at first, like, the audience gave an uncomfortable laugh, but he started going off on her in front of the audience. And I remember the audience was so annoyed by Diddy and how he was just being mean to Aubrey, they started booing him. And let me know if y'all remember that, because he was like, "You need to do this, you need to do that." And the audience started booing him. And when he realized that the audience, because Diddy got to have people who like him, when he realized the audience wasn't feeling how he was, responding, he tried to switch it up really quick so people could start clapping for him. But that just shows you the power that Aubrey had at that particular moment. She was that girl that was really popular on the show, but he needed that audience to support Dirty Money. Well, I should say support him, because we clearly know no one has gotten paid like Diddy or ever gotten paid. Like, the reason why he has the money that he has allegedly is because he don't pay nobody, okay? Nobody. He just takes, all right? But very interesting that she's reading that and someone's telling her in a letter she got S8 and she don't remember none of it. I want to know, do y'all think that's true? Do y'all think it was her? Or, that's weird. Let me see. Aubrey wouldn't dispute it to not negate other victim stories. Wow. Well, I mean, I've heard of these substances where people pass out and they're just, their body, like they can't control their body and things like that. But I've never heard that the day after or the morning after, people don't realize something happened to them. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what, but you feel like someone has tampered with you in some kind of way. So my thing is, I would think that Aubrey would at least remember this happened to her, at least remember one time where she woke up the next day and said something isn't right. Just something isn't right. And even if she didn't know what happened, that she felt violated in some kind of way. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. You know what I'm saying? By the grace of God, I've never been through that, but I just feel like you just hear these stories and it's kind of weird that she's like, I know, like she don't even remember putting herself in a position like that, or even remembering something where she feels something could have happened like that. Okay. So yeah, but that was definitely interesting. Then we have Kalina, child. She done been on, she was on, what was it? Love and Hip Hop, child. She was in Dirty Money. She pretty much implied that Don and Diddy had something going on, honey. Don and Diddy had something going on. And she said, but you couldn't really necessarily say anything because Cassie and I think even Kim was in the picture. But interesting enough, this idiot again with his footage, there's footage of him calling Kalina saying she needs to give some type of statement to back him up because Don is now suing him. And he literally has this girl on speakerphone while his cameraman is literally recording him in the bathroom. And he's like, yeah, man, I don't even know this girl. Like, I ain't even deal with that girl, whatever the case may be. Like, I need for you to make a statement, Kalina. I need for you to make a statement. And Kalina was like, she read the 50-something page, you know what I'm saying, like, case that Don had, the lawsuit Don had. And she said her heart dropped or whatever the case may be. But interesting enough, she kind of implied some things about Diddy, but at the same time, I feel like to a certain extent, she was still protecting him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like she was still kind of protecting him. Now, there were certain people from Making a Band on here, like Babs from, the band. She said when they got selected for, the band, she said they gave her a stack of papers like real high and told her that she had 24 hours to read through them and sign them. That's how they get you. But she actually had an attorney. Excuse me, you guys, sneezed. She had an attorney who looked over the paperwork in that short amount of time. And she said, kind of chuckled and said, so pretty much they're offering you fame, but no fortune. They're offering you, some fame, some social media or some reality show fame, but no fortune. And she said, yeah, and I signed it. She said, I signed it. So this is what Diddy is. And literally after she said that, there was a footage of Diddy on Making the Band saying, make sure you read the fine print, because once you sign, there's no way of getting out. And he laughs, but I'm like, no, he was laughing, but he was dead serious. He was so serious. So yeah, they had Kalina, they had Aubrey. Well, Kalina wasn't Making a Band, but still had Aubrey, had a Q on there, and also had Babs on there. And pretty much none of them left out of that situation clean. But Kalina did say that while he was so busy trying to call her to make a statement when it came to Don, she said when she was going through her custody battle for her daughter, she reached out to Diddy trying to get better attorneys that could help her fight for her, custody battle with her daughter. And he said he couldn't help her. So she definitely knows Diddy ain't ish. She know he ain't ish, but she didn't drag him through the mud, in my opinion, like some others did. Like, she didn't really drag him. But I know that she pretty much did imply that Don and Diddy had some stuff going on. Now, you're saying Don had already been told she made the band before the show was even taped. Yeah, I wonder why. Now, don't get me wrong. Don is talented. Like, a lot of her solo stuff that she's done on her own, she's talented, but we clearly know that some of the biggest gatekeepers in this industry, like Diddy, aren't that talented. They know how to take other people's talent and perform witchcraft to get other people's energy and everything else. And we're going to talk about that too. Because one of the gigolos was on this episode that used to have the little freak offs with Cassie and Diddy. And there was definitely a moment where he was saying that they collected his semen, the semen. And he was like, what the heck are y'all doing with that? And he said that Diddy said he likes to see Cassie mess with it and drink it. Now, why am I bringing that disgusting stuff up? Because if anybody knows what you have probably heard as far as the rituals and witchcraft and all of this demonic spirit stuff that happens, not just in the entertainment industry, but in just other aspects of people who are in that dark, demented stuff, what are two things that you constantly hear about? Bodily fluids. If y'all look it up, when it comes to blood and that other stuff that I just mentioned, those are two things that they like to tamper with. Other people's bodily fluids. There's something about that. Now, he claims it was just for Cassie, but we clearly know in all the details that they gave in that trial, he also liked to dibble and dabble in it too. In my personal opinion, I think that was ritual stuff that he was doing. And in my personal opinion, I feel like those were demonic rituals for him to be able to gain people's energy, spirits. Spiritual warfare is real. And they always say that, like that one lady that they say is a witch that Jay-Z was kind of bumping forehead to forehead with. They said apparently she likes to paint and stuff in people's bodily fluids. There's something with that. And that's why, in my opinion, they constantly were saving it and using it for certain things, if you know what I mean, rituals and stuff. So that's why I said Diddy talking about God, child, please. Yeah, Satan is his God. And I really don't think he's changed at all whatsoever. Speaking publicly about another person's legal matters in the middle of your own custody battle is a risk. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Now, I don't know if she's still in that custody battle, but she was talking about maybe that was something that was in the past. Oh yeah. And that's another thing too. Let's talk about the city college. I think the reason why I haven't really talked about the city college is because we all know that happened, but I think that was the point in his life where he knew in his mind that all publicity is good publicity, and that made him, because they even said in this documentary, that made him super famous. Even though 9 people passed away due to his negligence. And again, master manipulator promoting and making things bigger than what they needed to be caused people to get crushed that day, that night. It took him to another stratosphere. So that told him then that even with the pain of others, it made him into kind of a public figure overnight. A media like where besides his local people, a lot of people knew Diddy from that situation, and he already wanted that fame, and he just got intoxicated from that. So it's interesting how every tragedy, someone else's tragedy, has pushed Diddy forward in his career, which now comes into play. Did you purposely push tragedies so you can go higher and higher in your career? Let's talk about Kurt Burrows. Oh, this man said a lot, y'all. This man said a lot. He has been around Diddy since the beginning, before Bad Boy was even created. He was there. He was there. All right. Talking about the DV situations that he's had since 91, 92. Even talked about how he put hands on his own mother, slapped her and called her a B word after the city college incident. He knows a lot. And I still feel like he held back a little bit. So let's talk about Kurt Burrows. First things first, Kurt Burrows was the co-founder of Bad Boy. Okay. Now we all know he started with Uptown when Jodeci and Mary J. Blige, because those were his projects, Diddy's projects. Mind you, Diddy is not a great producer. Diddy just knows a hit when he hears it. He got the style of the hip hop beats with the R&B singing from Brucey B from the Rooftop, who used to do, you know what I'm saying, like the R&B tracks. We like the R&B singing with the hip hop beats. That's allegedly where he got it from. And he, again, nothing original from Diddy. He's just a master manipulator, master marketer. But he is not original. He took that and was able to take Jodeci's talent and Mary J's talent and be able to create a career off of it. But he got too cocky. And of course, we know Andre Harrell, who is also no longer with us, fired him. Bad Boy comes around. Kurt Burrows, he tells him, look, 75% of this company is going in my mama's name, because he didn't want anything in his name, because he was afraid that the families from the city college 9 were actually going to come after his money. So he said, look, 75% is going to be in my mama's name. 25% goes to you, Kirk. Okay. And I think the advance, Diddy got 1.5 million. Kirk got 1.5 million. Diddy told him, do what you want to do. That's your money. Do what you want to do with it. But my company better be up and running. All right. That's the way it was. So at that point, Diddy made Kirk Justin's godfather, his first son, Justin's godfather. And he said, even though he had already saw some things that was going on, like with him hitting his mother and stuff, he pushed that in the back of his mind to pursue forward. And he said, was I part of the Diddy cult? Yeah, I possibly was. I was a part of it. So, but he said as time went on and the money that started to come in and things started to happen, he saw a change in him. And he said, you know, he definitely wanted the gangster lifestyle, but he definitely wasn't gangster. He was not a street dude. Went to private school and all of that stuff. He said, but he felt like he wanted to be the gangster of the industry because that's where he could really control certain things. So he said he just started seeing erratic things like calling him into the office while he getting a helping hand, so to speak, from a woman. And at that point, after I guess it was all said and done, he was like, okay, so what you call me in the office for? He was like, oh, for no reason. He was like, because Diddy just wanted him to see that he was getting that from that girl. And then, of course, we get into the Tupac Biggie, because he mentioned that Biggie was actually on Uptown Records. But when Andre Harrell fired Diddy, one of the deals was Andre said, you can take Biggie, you got to pay me for the album, but you can take Biggie. All right. Now, he said, yeah, Diddy was super jealous, and he was super jealous of Pac and Biggie's relationship because Pac was super happy for Biggie. When he heard his album, he was like one of his number one fans and was really trying to give him some game and everything else. Kirk said Diddy didn't like that. He didn't like the fact he was controlling. He wanted to hog everything. Everything, you know what I'm saying, was about, you know, him and always trying to feel like somebody was tampering into his situation. But he said something that was very interesting, where he said the way that Diddy created his career was strictly by manipulation. And he despised and was jealous of talent that didn't have to manipulate. Their talent was just their talent. They just had a God-given talent. And he was jealous of that because the way that he had to put himself out there, because he wasn't talented. And all of them said that man can't rap worth a damn. They was like, that man ain't talented. He had to manipulate to show the world that manipulating you, I have made you look like I look like I'm just bigger than life. I'm this super talent. He couldn't stand people who naturally just had it. Interesting, right? And that's one thing I've been saying for a very long time, that a lot of these people that we see that are considered like super powerhouses in the industry now, in my personal opinion, a lot of them didn't have it. They were manipulated and pushed into the stratosphere because of the fact that they sold their soul and they were easy to control. The huge talents that we had growing up, or at least what I had growing up, they destroyed them quickly because they were God-given talents. They knew their talent. They knew their talent was given by God. Tupac, natural poet, rapper, actor. He naturally had it. And Kirk said Diddy hated it. So next thing you know, when he said he hated that relationship that Diddy and Tupac had, next thing you know, Quad Studios, the big incident happens that causes a rift between Tupac and Biggie. And Kirk says, in my mature mind, I truly feel like Diddy had everything to do with Tupac's demise. And Keefy D from Compton, California, of course, we all know that he has actually now, a couple years ago, admits that they were supposed to get paid for offing Tupac and Suge, but got played and never got paid. But Kirk, the fact that he was around this man for so long. Now, some Diddy groupie is probably going to say, oh, Kirk is just jealous. He's mad because Diddy did this and Diddy did that and he's still bitter. Yeah, y'all going to have to get over that. Y'all gonna have to get over that. Like y'all, and for those who, I highly recommend you watch this 4-part documentary, because just something in that man's eyes and his whole demeanor, I think that he has had to live with this for a long time. And I think he's breathing a lot easier now because he held on to this stuff. So he said in his mind, he feels like Diddy's responsible for it. Diddy's responsible for Tupac. And then, of course, when Tupac passed, and I can attest to this, Biggie comes to California months later. Tupac passed September of 1996. Biggie comes to California March of 97. And I remember when the radio stations were announcing out here, Biggie was coming to town. And even I knew somebody about to get him. Someone about to get him. We are the home of drive-bys. Someone's about to get him, or they're going to at least attempt to. We all was feeling that. We was at school like, oh, hell, here we go. Like, what idiot would want him to come out here? And it hasn't even been a year. The soil has not even settled in with Tupac, even though he was cremated, I believe. But why would you do that? Well, we know why now, because Kirk said Diddy wanted Biggie out there and was claiming, I need you out here. Biggie didn't want to go. They did the Soul Train Awards, if I'm not mistaken. And they did something else out there. They was booing him left and right. Kirk says that they were supposed to go to London that next day after that. And Kirk speaks to Big, and Big is like, man, Puff is tripping. He talking about, I need to stay here to go to this party, and I don't want to stay here. I want to go to London, because I guess they were supposed to be doing some promotion in London, and it was a huge deal because Biggie was going to be the first bad boy artist to do promo and stuff in the UK. Kirk calls Diddy. Diddy's like, hell no, he's staying here. And Kirk's like, man, I've been planning this. Like, we're ready to go. Diddy kind of hangs up on him, was like, no, he's staying here. Why? Because he said ego, he wanted to throw a party on the enemy's turf. Now, I think it was much bigger than that. But that was part of it. Because again, it's interesting that they are always so quick to paint Suge Knight as the monster. And I'm not saying Suge Knight is innocent by any means. But because he was like 6'3" and like 350 pounds, and Diddy ain't even 5'7", and back then was probably only 150 pounds soaking wet, that people just automatically assume that Suge Knight was the bigger boogeyman. When even the East Coast, West Coast beef started really, now they can say, some people can say the Source Awards, because y'all know the Source Awards. Anybody who don't want the executive producer all in the videos, dancing, come to Death Row. Y'all remember that? Well, and then Diddy tried to go up there and make it seem like he's a positive black man, and shout out to the East and West. He proud of Dr. Dre and Suge Knight and stuff. Kirk said, man, please. That man was already calculating in, because he cannot take shade of any way. He can't take it. So he was already plotting in. And next thing you know, in Atlanta, not only was Diddy trying to take Suge's side chick, but Suge Knight's homeboy ended up getting pow. And I'm going to get back to Biggie. But I want to say this, and this just shows you how evil Diddy is. When his friend, whoever the person who pow Suge Knight's friend, they said they pow Suge Knight's friend 5 times while he was staring at Suge. The person who did it was staring at Suge, but he was pow-powing his friend while he was staring at Suge. Suge immediately went into action because Puff was right there and grabbed Puff to pretty much use him as a vest, so to speak, because it's like, if you try to come for me, you're going to hit him. You're not going to hit me. And so at that point, I think Mark Curry was describing this story, and Diddy was like, you know, chill, like everything's going to be all right. And Suge said something like, everything's going to be all right. What? And Diddy was like, tell your mom everything's going to be all right. Tell your kids everything is going to be all right. While Suge had him in front of him to protect him just in case someone wanted to pow him. But that just shows you how evil Diddy was, that even in that moment, he was trying to hint to him that potentially, allegedly, I can come for your mama and your kids next type of thing. So that's what really kicked off the back and forth. But back to Biggie. So with that being said, ego, and in my opinion, other things, we clearly know what happened March 9th of 1997. Biggie gets unalived. And at that point, we see footage of Diddy claiming that Biggie wanted to go out there and kind of do like a peace tour, so to speak, to try to make peace between the East and the West. And Kirk and a couple other people said that's a dang on lie. He's lying. That is not the case. Biggie didn't even want to go out there. He didn't even want to go out there. And so Kirk was like, he's saying that because he's clearly not comfortable with the reality of whatever happened. He don't want to admit that. So he's trying to make it seem like that this was a peace thing. That wasn't the case, which is why I also hated the way that they had Diddy in the Biggie movie, the Notorious Big movie. They tried to make it seem like Diddy was always the peacemaker and didn't want, you know what I'm saying, Biggie to react in certain things. Kirk said that's a lie too. He said when Tupac did his whole, you know, get money or whatever the case may be, and did the first of all, F the and the click you came, let me, y'all know the this, and he effed your wife and stuff, Faith Evans. He said that Master Manipulator Diddy was pushing Biggie to respond, trying to get him mad, trying to stir him up. He was not trying to tell him, you know, let's focus on the money, let's focus on business. No, that was the persona he wanted to give to people, but behind the scenes, he was a master manipulator. He knew what the hell he was doing. But Biggie passes. Kirk says, Diddy's like, we're about to give him the biggest funeral that anyone has ever seen. Now, mind you, right before Biggie passed, Biggie was supposed to be on the Rolling Stone. Diddy calls Kirk and says, X that. Don't have Biggie on there. I need that for my album. So I'm going to get the Rolling Stone cover. Screw Biggie. Okay, this is before Biggie passed. But when Biggie passed, Diddy said, we about to do the biggest funeral ever for him. And then Kirk said, but then he started seeing the bill pile up. He started seeing how much money it was going to cost for Biggie's funeral. Next thing you know, Diddy said, oh, Biggie going to pay for his own funeral. We're going to take it out of his estate. So you can't even pay for his funeral, you cheap bastard. Even though all the money you made off of him and so many others like Craig Mack and everyone else, and you pretty much say that he's going to foot the bill for his own funeral. Oh, but I'm not done. I'm not done. Make sure y'all hit the like and hit the hype. After Biggie passed, he goes to Kirk and says, we need to rearrange the deal that we made with Biggie. Biggie was renegotiating his contract at the time before he passed. And they have finalized what the decision would be. Once Biggie passed, Diddy came back telling Kirk, you need to change it. So then that way they can get a bigger profit now that Biggie is gone. Kirk said, hell no, I can't do that. That ain't right. That ain't right. Kirk said 90 days later, after he put his foot down and said he ain't doing it, he was fired. So after that, all of a sudden we get the "I'll Be Missing You" song, the infamous actual award show performance he did with Sting while Sting was singing it, and he was dancing around looking like a chicken with his head cut off. And they said that that was a very, like iconic performance. Again, in tragedy, how his career continues to take a higher stratosphere of success, so to speak. That is also another form of witchcraft. Like, if you guys start looking up certain videos and stuff, and they say that these people who practice these type of spiritual things, how they end up, when people pass, they end up like going higher in their career and stuff, is because they're trying to take the spirits and the energy from those people. That spiritual stuff is super real. And I wouldn't put it past Diddy, my opinion, but I would not put it past allegedly if he practiced and dibble dabbles in that. Because why is it that every time tragedy happens and someone passes, your career goes higher and higher? Why? Apparently Biggie's mama wasn't feeling him. Now, I'm sure she kept the peace because she had to do what she needed to do for her grandchildren and Biggie's estate. But she wasn't feeling him. And she even said, we saw past footage of her saying this beef was just pretty much about Diddy and Suge, and how it was just those two, and now all of these other lives are destroyed. So I think even in her passing, all the way up to her passing, she did not trust that man. And she probably saw how Diddy just kept getting richer and richer. Wow, you know what I'm saying? Biggie estate, I'm sure, is all right. But compared to how much money Diddy probably made off of Biggie and was still making off of Biggie, it's not a comparison at all whatsoever. At all. Like, it's probably Biggie's estate is in the minor leagues compared to probably the money that Diddy has made. Now, let's talk about the bat situation. He comes into Kirk's office with a baseball bat, because apparently the man can't necessarily fight with his fist. His own little play brother growing up said he ain't a fighter with his fist, but he'll bite you and do things like that because that's the only way that he know how to win a fight. He comes in to Kirk's office with a baseball bat and tells him that he got to give up his 25% of Bad Boy. Now, he claims that he got to make some type of deal or whatever the case may be, and he's going to give it back. But he pretty much came in with a baseball bat saying, you need to give it up or else. Interesting enough, his mama has 75%. Why can you take 25% off of her? Yeah. So the reality is he pretty much gangstered his way in to take everything, even though this man literally helped him build Bad Boy. So when it really boils down to it, there's not one person, it sounds like, that Diddy has done business with that they have benefited. He's the only one that's been able to benefit. Everyone else is in the gutter or broke or bitter and still to this day fuming about how they was treated or violated. He is the only one that has been able to benefit. Meanwhile, in this freaking docu, he is literally in the car talking to one of his side heifers, talking about how he's about to put $200 million in a bank. They hold the bank open for him so he can put $200 million in there. None of his money is, in my opinion, legit, and he got it the honest way. There's no way. And interesting enough, the way that he was smoking all up and down in this actual documentary, didn't at one point with Dylon and making the band, didn't he scream at Dylon for smoking on his bus because he said he was allergic to smoke? Interesting how you did all of that, talking about you allergic to smoke, and now you're a heavy smoker. This is why I'm just saying, like, that man got so many freaking spirits on him, it don't even make no sense. But with that, he ends up going to Harlem. And for whatever reason, if y'all look at that part when he goes to Harlem, you know who he meets up with? He meets up with Jim Jones. What the hell you meeting up with Jim Jones for? It's interesting, right? Have Jim Jones and Diddy ever done business together? I personally don't even think that Diddy would even look at Jim Jones as a peer or someone to even want to kick it with. But he ends up going to Harlem. And of course, you know, he loves the attention. And people are seeing him, happy to see him, or whatever case may be. One guy gave him a jacket, he taking pictures and all of that stuff. This fool gets back in the car and he's like, where's the hand sanitizer? Where's the hand sanitizer? And he's like, pretty much making it seem like he feels dirty now that he has been around people, the common folks, and said that now he got to take a bath and it got to be hot boiling water. And he pretty much damn near got to bleach himself because he's been around the common folks. Mind you, this is the same man who had no problem putting people's juices all over his body. Okay, bodily fluids all over his body. But now you feel dirty and icky because you were touching your people and giving hugs and taking pictures and shaking hands. And the fact that he said that on camera. And see, a lot of people think that because Diddy has no problem taking pictures and all of that type of stuff, that means he actually likes people. No, that doesn't mean that. That just strokes his ego. And even his bodyguard said he don't even like black people like that. Like he said he made it seem like he a hip hop OJ. He don't even like black people like that. You know what I'm saying? But because he knew he was about to get hit with the unthinkable and get arrested, that potentially he purposely went to Harlem to be around the folks so those folks can support him when they trying to take a black dude down. So again, even still masterful in his planning and trying to get the people to back him up before he was about to get arrested, because they definitely was saying he was prepared for that to happen. So of all places, you go to Harlem. Mind you, again, that fool ain't from Harlem. He from Mount Vernon. Okay? He's not from Harlem. So, yeah. But he was like, oh, I got to take a bath. It got to be boiling hot. Like, oof, you know, I'm just saying, you know, I'm being around these people. And I'm like, seriously, dude? Seriously? Like, the type of freak-offs that you've had 3 days straight, you are truly the definition of funk and disgust. And you got an issue with people in Harlem giving you hugs and shaking your hand and stuff. Like, get the hell up out of here. But you know what's so crazy about this, y'all? Even with this documentary, even with everything that has happened, you are still going to have people defending Diddy. Like, at the end of the day, to me, this documentary should make everyone skeptical at this point. Scared to do business with him, scared to deal with him in any way. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously. No one should want to deal with this man at this point. Oh, and another thing, Tisa Tales was on this documentary. And I think in one of my membership lives I mentioned that Tisa has said even months ago that apparently the way that bloggers and vloggers and stuff were getting the transcripts from the actual case was that Diddy's PR people were out there giving the transcripts and sending people the transcripts or whatever the case may be. And while they was trying to offer it to her, she was like, no, thank you, because she saw how they were working their way into making sure people show loyalty to Diddy by giving them those type of things. She said that in this documentary also. She said it, that people were getting the transcripts from Diddy's people and how masterfully they was able to get so many people as far as the marketing and PR side on Diddy's side by how they was handling things outside in front of that court. Now, I would be curious to see if other people felt the same way that Tisa did, but I remember she said that a couple months ago, and she said that in this documentary also. But yeah, you guys, I'll tell you one thing, Kirk Burroughs, you need to write a book or you need to have your own documentary, because I feel like he got so much more to tell. I may be still missing some stuff that he was putting out there and he said a lot of. He spilled the beans. And so it makes you wonder, especially with this Biggie situation, Tupac too, but especially with this Biggie situation, what was the reason why you wanted him to come to Cali, sir? And how ironic that he's gone and now you trying to change that contract so you can make more money, because everyone knows, especially a master manipulator and a marketing like schemer like Diddy is, that everyone has known that celebrities, they can make more money when they're gone versus when they're alive. And if anybody knew that, Diddy knew it. So the odds that he had just negotiated his contract, pow, he's gone. And not only do you make him pay for his own funeral, but then you say we need to renegotiate his contract. Don't say nothing to them, just change it so then he can make more money. You are Satan's son and you going to hell. I don't know what God that you keep talking about in that freaking documentary, but it ain't the living God. It ain't the ultimate. There's no way. Like, and someone even said in the documentary, he has no soul. He's soulless. Like, I always felt there was something dark about him, but how can he redeem himself after this? Like, how can he? Who would be? And the crazy part about it, we live in a sick world that you will still have people who want to do business with him, even though it's been proven time and time again that no one wins but him. No one wins but him. Craig Mack passed broke and sick. And his wife was in this documentary also. And how he was so cheap that he literally couldn't afford, like his own wife had to ask her daddy for money, even though he had a big hit record on the radio, Flavor in Your Ear. And he asked Diddy for money before he's about to do this performance. And she said Diddy sat up there and put out a whole wad of money in front of him and just gave him one single $100 bill, even though he had a whole wad of money that came out of his pocket. He gave him one $100 bill. The man is sick. The man is selfish. The man is evil. At this point, like, I understand they couldn't get him on a lot of those charges, but as far as I see it, there's no redeeming qualities about him. Everybody was saying, well, look, Chris, anybody can be redeemed. God can forgive everyone. I personally feel there are some people that God has just said, you don't pray for them no more. You can't save them. They have been given to the dark side. And I think Diddy is one of them people. He uses the Bible and says God to try to manipulate people. But after watching this documentary, I had already felt it anyways. But after watching this and how he potentially is the master manipulator behind getting our two biggest hip-hop icons that left us too soon, it could be he's the mastermind behind it, because master manipulators can truly divide and conquer. Just even on a basic level, master manipulators can do that. Imagine being a master manipulator who has resources, fame, and money, and people who want your resources, fame, and money, or they want you to help them with that. And then you do the master manipulation that you do. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of stuff was going down because of him stirring the pot behind the scenes. Just evil. Just straight up evil. And apparently, allegedly, he's teaching his sons to be the same way. So yeah, I would highly recommend you guys, if you haven't watched it, watch the documentary. I would highly recommend you watch it, but it just puts so many things into perspective for me. And yeah, like Wendy Williams said, I'm hoping Diddy is done. I'm hoping Diddy is done. I'm hoping that even when he gets out, because that's going to be the worst thing for him if he gets out and just no one gives a ish anymore about him, that he walked down the street and people look at him with disgust, or they just don't even care. That will definitely hurt his ego way more than anything else. And of course, if his pockets are dwindling too. Like, can you imagine out of all of the stuff that he's done and all the people he allegedly stole from, that he ends up becoming broke behind all of this? I mean, as far as I see it, I don't like to wish bad on anyone, but this man has created so much hell in other people's lives. People who truly had talent, people who thought that this black man, fellow black person, was going to protect them. And, you know, they were going to be able to take their God-given talent and be able to, you know, not necessarily be a billionaire, but to live comfortable. And he decided to just take advantage of all of them. Every last one of them. Whew. Like I told you, it was a very uncomfortable. It's a good documentary, but very uncomfortable, because it's just like, I just don't understand that type of evil. I mean, I know it exists, but that type of evil, and then you have people who just praise him the way that he does, which is why I even more so know that witchcraft is real and spiritual warfare is real, because you can't convince me that people don't have some type of voodoo, hoodoo on their butts. Like they got their fans' minds in a trance. Because if you in your right mind and can think for yourself, I don't even understand how you can still be a fan of Diddy after this. But then again, we have a lot of selfish people who have this mentality where, well, if it ain't happened to me, I don't care. Let's be clear. Diddy has proven at this point that he don't give a damn about anyone. He'll take from anyone. He'll take from anyone. And as far as I see, any money that he has given to schools and things like that to make it seem like he's this person who's righting his wrong or he's a good person, to me, that's blood money. That's blood money. Bottom line. So, yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see what his response is going to be, what his attorney's response is going to be, and how this documentary potentially, do y'all think is going to change anything when it comes to Diddy? Yeah, they just kind of put it out there that he definitely could have been the mastermind behind often two of our most iconic hip-hop artists, who at one point were good friends and then all of a sudden enemies. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, you guys let me know what you thought about this documentary. To hell with Diddy. To hell with him. Like, at this point, like, I don't even know. Apparently, he keeps getting in trouble. I don't know how true that is, but apparently he keeps getting in trouble in prison. I don't know if they've been pushing his time back. I mean, even if he does 2 years, whatever the case may be, like, I am hoping by then people have forgotten about him and he goes in an island somewhere and just don't come back. Like, seriously, because people like this, we just don't need them around anymore. Let them go to Iowa somewhere and stay like in a cabin, and I don't know. But we don't need people like this. Like, that just shows you there's too much evil in the world, and evil has been getting praised for too long. And the sad part about it is, like I said earlier, I don't think he's the only one. I think he's just the first one in the hip hop community who has gotten caught like this. But he's not the only one who's definitely destroyed other lives behind making sure that their finances and their careers are secure. Yeah, so I'll be very curious to see who's next. Now, some people speculated that 50 Cent is slick actually having this air on December 2nd, apparently a couple days before Jay-Z's birthday. I think some of y'all are reaching with that. Diddy ain't got control on Netflix and when they release stuff. I think y'all going too deep on it. Although we know that 50 Cent don't really care for Jay-Z either. But if he was going to be that petty and he had that much control, he probably would have released this on Diddy's birthday. I mean, on Jay-Z's birthday, or hell, even on Diddy's birthday. Like, if he was going to be that calculating, he had control, he would have did it exactly on the day, not a couple days before. And again, I don't think he has that type of power. And I honestly feel like this documentary was almost already done. He just put his name on it. He put his name on it and he put his resources on it So then that way the Kirk Burrows and people like that would actually do the documentary. Because Kirk Burrows hasn't really done these documentaries. We see him do interviews, like he has interviews on YouTube, but I think this is his first Diddy documentary. Oh, I'm not done. Sorry, y'all, before I get up out of here. Kirk Burrows said that Diddy SA'd him. Shit, let me talk about that before I leave. Now, he said that he started to SA him. I got a question. Got a question about that. What do you mean about him SAing you? Do y'all think Kirk is gay? And did him and Diddy have a relationship maybe? And then it just went too far, like some of these women that we know about? But yes, this man says S deviant, and he says that he actually got SA'd by Diddy, allegedly, apparently. And I'm thinking like, and we clearly know whether you a man or a woman, someone can truly overpower you and, you know, unfortunately do horrible things. But he didn't really go into detail, but I'm just curious on what he meant by that and what actually occurred. And was there some type of relationship outside of business? And he started to feel like Kirk was also his property. Like they said, he's treated everyone else as his property. You think he wants attention? You don't think that actually happened to him? What man, straight or gay, wants to admit another man SA'd him though? Like, you think he would want that much attention where he would say that and it's not true? I don't know. I don't know. Like, I feel like he felt relieved that he was able to get a lot of stuff out that he's been holding on to since the early 90s. I don't know, but he sure did say that. And I was like, whoa. Hell, I was in my kitchen. I said, wait, hold up. What? Rewind. What did he just say? Yeah. He said SA. So yeah, very interesting. See, this is why I said he was dropping so many things. I don't know. I probably still forgot some stuff, but yeah, Kirk Burrows was the highlight of this documentary. Of course, Kirk wants that money. He rightfully deserves that money. But does that mean that he will lie about getting SA because of something that he rightfully deserves? You know what I mean? Like, so, but yeah, that man created, he helped build Bad Boy, had 25% of the stock, and then literally it was stolen from him. Who wouldn't want their money? Little Rod wants his money. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I don't know. But I put it past people to be willing to do some strange things for some change, and then, you know what I'm saying, feel played once, you know what I'm saying, they're taken advantage of. Yeah, like you got people, men and women, that have that. He didn't say how. Yeah, he didn't say how he was SA. He could have been made to watch something. That's true too, because that is a form of SA. That's true. That is true. You know what I'm saying? Because he did say that there was a woman in there and giving him a, you know what, and he wanted Kirk to see it. So that is a form of that also. You know, that's not something you're supposed to do in the work environment. But to me, it left a lot to the imagination that most men would not want to leave up to the imagination of what the SA was. Some people just desperately want to be involved in things. It's like when you share something in conversation and some people can't help but say, oh, that happened to me too. I don't know about that. Like, I don't know. Like, while there are definitely some people who are probably lying, about their connection to Diddy because they're just trying to get money. I don't know if that's the case. Like, I don't feel like it's too many of these stories that are so similar. And Kurt Burrows has been around that man before the fame, before all of this Diddy stuff, but he was just Puff Daddy back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so I don't know. Like, of course he is upset probably. And again, maybe he has made peace with it at this point. Of course, he still maybe legally has tried to pursue it, but I feel like when he legally pursued it, it was thrown out or something of that effect, because of course we know Diddy's money can make things go away, even if it's true. You have a lot of people with a lot of power who allegedly have stolen things from people and things like that. And because of their powerhouse teams and attorneys and everything else, they have made things go away, even though they're in the wrong. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're in the wrong. So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm sure he's still annoyed, but some people, he may be at peace with it at this point. For all we know, maybe he's found other ways to make money. But I don't know. Like, he went in on this documentary. He was the highlight of this documentary. Every time that man was speaking, I was glued in. I'm just glued in. Okay, you said you're side-eyeing everyone. The main side-eye should go to Diddy. Are you mainly side-eyeing him? Or are you thinking that potentially he's not as bad as what they're making him out to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you can side-eye everyone, but the main person to side-eye is Satan's son himself. Because everybody ain't lying on this man. Like, everyone can't be lying on him. At a certain point, you gotta say, where there's smoke, there's fire. You know, and we've seen him in action. You know what I'm saying? With his own freaking cameraman in front of him while he's talking to his attorneys. That is so, he's so stupid. But that just shows you how he felt like he's been untouchable all these years. Even having stuff recorded, he felt like nothing was going to happen to him. That just shows how much he craves attention, how sick he truly is. I knew that he was losing it when he was at the Joker. No, he's losing it when the Halloween, that was only a couple years ago. This man has had issues, in my opinion, since childhood. I mean, again, we got a woman who said she was SA'd by him back in 91, 92 before the fame. We had a woman who allegedly said while he was in college, he was allegedly DVing a woman with a belt. So, and that was in the late 80s. He's had a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has had a problem. It's just that the substances just brought out more of the demons, but he's had demons from the beginning. To me, though, everyone just isn't innocent. Are you talking about everybody in general in life? Yes, everybody is not innocent in life. No one is perfect. The only perfect one is Jesus, God. But yes, everybody. But at the same time, I walk my life. Like I said, I've read 48 Laws of Power. That book, you could do some damage with that book, but I'm just not built like that. You have to truly be diabolical to be that way. That's coming. But you have some people who don't care by any means necessary. They're going to get what they want, even if it's destroying other people. I don't rock like that, because I know, because of my spiritual connection, that we all going to have to meet the Most High one day. You know, but some people feel like their peace, their heaven is here on earth, so they don't care where they go after this short amount of time living on earth. More open red, because he was on substances at that point. Let them tell it he didn't do any of that stuff or even drink back in the early 90s. And apparently when he got into it with Kim and ended up having to take pain meds, they feel like that's what led to him going into that rabbit hole of substances. So, but honestly, I feel he's been a psychopath for a very long time. for a very long time. But of course, when substances are involved, you are a little bit more erratic in the public and don't care, especially when you have the money and the means and you've had all of these legal battles and you've just been able to get away with it for a very long time. You think you're untouchable and you can do whatever. And he was able to get away with it for over 30 years. So I could see how he could think no matter what I do or no matter what I say, I'm going to be victorious. I'm going to win because I don't lose type of mentality. But the devil does come to collect. The devil comes to collect. And honestly, I'm hoping that this is the end of Diddy and all those who are like Diddy. And I'm really praying for the people that have been affected by that demon. I really am, because I can't imagine your whole life trying to get somewhere because of just what you love to do and your God-given talent, just for someone to rob you and strip you of everything. Your pride, your dignity, your money, everything. You know what I mean? Like it's very, very sad. All because of this person who did it don't have no talent, no skill set, but knowing just how to manipulate. And just being in the right place at the right time and willing to do whatever he needed to do to gain that power. He did a lot of people dirty. And Kirk Burroughs, bravo. I want you to write a book. I think maybe he actually wrote a book. I'm going to have to look it up. But I'm going to need for you to do your own documentary and lay out everything. I'm going to need for you to do your own documentary, sir, because I'm sure you still got more stories to tell. Now, Gene Deal told some of your stories. Gene Deal had already said that Diddy had slapped his mama and stuff, but I'm sure you got way more stories to tell. And another thing he said before I go, he said, it's crazy how you think you're so close to someone. He kind of said, like, you think you're so close to someone, you know all their secrets, you know the ins and outs of everything. And yet, even in that, they will still screw you over. And that just shows you right there, like, sometimes you keep your circle small, or your circle is you. Because he probably did not think in a million years Diddy would do him like that, especially like he said, he knows all of his secrets. Sir, please share. Please share. Do a tell-all book. Hell, I'll read it. I'll purchase it. Make your money that way. That's all I'm going to say. So with that being said, you guys, for those who watched the documentary, the 4-part documentary, let me know what you thought about it. Who you believed, who maybe you didn't believe, what you thought about, Kirk Burroughs and what he said, what you think about what Aubrey said, and what do you think about 50 Cent being the executive producer? Like, do you think he's done with Diddy after this, or he's going to keep coming for Diddy? You think he's going to keep coming for Diddy? Why am I even asking that question? Y'all already know the answer. Diddy don't ever stop. Diddy is the same. 50 ain't going to ever stop. 50 is the same man that when Irv Gotti passed away, this man is over here talking about he's smoking on a Gotti pack. He is who he is. But I'm going to tell you one thing, 50, you better be squeaky clean, sir. You better be squeaky clean, because you have created a lot of enemies, and you don't know what if they got something on you, oh, it's on. It's on. So with that being said, you guys, please like, hype, share, and subscribe. And I will see you on my next video. Toodles.